this video is about. She walked into the art gallery, and a billionaire commented on her favorite painting. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The heavy wooden door of the art gallery swung open, unleashing a flurry of crisp autumn air into the warm, softly lit space. A stray lock of chestnut hair fluttered across Claire's cheek as she stepped inside, the door creaking to a close behind her. The scent of linseed oil and varnish enveloped her, a comforting embrace that pulled her deeper into the world of color and creativity she adored so much. Claire had always found solace in galleries, where vibrant strokes of paint told stories that her own life rarely did. As a freelance art curator, she had spent countless hours surrounded by canvases, each piece a glimpse into the artist's soul. Yet today felt different. Today, she was here not merely as a professional, but as a woman seeking inspiration that had eluded her for weeks. As she wandered through the expansive gallery, her fingers brushed against the cool frames, pausing occasionally to admire the brilliant hues of abstract expressions. But as she turned the corner into the contemporary wing, something made her stop short. There it was, a painting that felt like a warm embrace. The swirling blues and greens danced across the canvas, evoking a sense of freedom and longing. It was titled Elysium, and she couldn't help but feel that it mirrored her own restless spirit. Lost in thought, Claire barely noticed the tall figure standing nearby, casually leaning against the wall, his presence a stark contrast to the vibrant art that surrounded them. He wore a tailored navy suit, and his dark hair was artfully tousled, the kind of effortless style that whispered of confidence and charisma. Claire's gaze flicked to him, curiosity piqued. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he said, his voice smooth like aged whiskey, tinged with a hint of something that made her heart race. "It is," Claire replied, her voice barely above a whisper. It's like the artist captured a moment of pure emotion, a fleeting memory of happiness mixed with yearning. The man turned to face her fully, eyes glinting with interest. "You have a way with words. Most people just see colors and shapes. They don't appreciate the depth behind it." Claire felt her cheeks flush, the compliment catching her off guard. "I suppose I've spent too much time around art to not see it that way. I'm a curator, so I've learned to look beyond the surface." "A curator, you say?" He stepped closer, his gaze piercing yet warm. "I'm intrigued. What drew you to this piece in particular?" "The movement," she answered, her enthusiasm bubbling over. "It feels alive, as if the artist poured their very soul into it. It speaks to the part of me that craves adventure and freedom, but also grapples with a sense of longing." He nodded thoughtfully, his expression revealing genuine interest. "A complex relationship with longing, I can relate to that. In my line of work, I often find myself torn between desire and duty." Claire raised an eyebrow, her curiosity intensifying. "What do you do?" "Let's just say I'm in the business of creating opportunities, but I'd much rather be standing in front of art than in a boardroom." He chuckled softly, a sound that sent a pleasant shiver down her spine. "What's your name?" she asked, her heart racing a little faster now. "Lucas," he said, extending a hand, his grip firm yet gentle. "And you are?" "Claire," she replied, shaking his hand, the brief contact sending an electric thrill through her. It startled her how such a simple gesture could ignite a spark of chemistry. "Pleasure to meet you, Claire," he said, his eyes never leaving hers. "So, what's your favorite piece in the gallery? Something that truly resonates with you?" She thought for a moment, her gaze drifting back to Elysium, then back to Lucas. "This one, obviously. It feels like a reflection of my own journey. What about you?" Lucas's expression shifted, almost contemplative. "I have a soft spot for the abstract pieces, especially ones that evoke strong emotions. but I'd have to say I admire the more classic works, the stories they tell and the techniques used. Ah, a lover of tradition, Claire teased lightly, her eyes sparkling with mischief. But tell me, do you think the old masters still have anything to teach us in this era of innovation? There's a balance to be struck, Lucas replied thoughtfully. Tradition offers a foundation, while innovation builds upon it. Just like in life, we must learn from the past to navigate the present and shape the future. Claire found herself captivated not just by his words, but by the intensity of his gaze. It felt as if they were sharing an unspoken connection, a thread that tied them together amidst the myriad of art and people in the gallery. Deep thoughts for an art gallery, she smiled, trying to lighten the moment. I expected to find muses, not philosophers. Lucas chuckled, a rich, velvety sound that made her stomach flutter. I suppose I can't help it. I've spent too much time contemplating the world around me. Perhaps I need more time with art. Or more time with people who appreciate it, she suggested, her heart racing as she realized how bold she was being. Touché, he said, a playful smile breaking across his face. Maybe you could help me with that, Claire. I'd love to hear your thoughts on other pieces. I'm a bit lost in this modern maze. Are you asking me to be your tour guide? She asked, feigning surprise. Only if you're willing, he replied, his sincerity peeking through the playful banter. I'd be happy to, she said, unable to suppress the excitement bubbling within her. There are some remarkable pieces just around the corner, but I hope you don't mind if I take a moment to study yours first. Of course, Lucas replied, stepping back to give her space. I'm intrigued by your insight. What else does this piece reveal? As she shared her thoughts, explaining the delicate interplay of colors and emotions, Claire felt a sense of ease wash over her. The initial nervousness had transformed into a thrilling connection, and she found herself more drawn to him by the minute. Lucas listened intently, his gaze never wavering from her face, as if she were the only person in the room. Your passion for art is inspiring, he finally said, his voice low and sincere. It's refreshing to meet someone who truly sees the world through a different lens. Thank you, she said, a warm blush creeping back to her cheeks. It means a lot to hear that, especially from someone like you. Someone like me, he asked with a hint of playfulness, raising an eyebrow. Someone who clearly knows how to appreciate life's finer things, she replied, biting her lip to hide her smile. His laughter rang out, rich and deep, and she couldn't help but feel the magnetic pull between them growing stronger. As they moved through the gallery, Claire began to realize that the art wasn't the only thing that captivated her that day. The unexpected chemistry with Lucas was turning into an exploration of a different kind, one that felt both exhilarating and terrifying at the same time. Do you ever think about how art can mirror our lives? She mused as they paused in front of a large, chaotic mural that seemed to tell 1,000 stories at once. Absolutely, he replied, leaning in slightly, his presence wrapping around her like a warm scarf on a cold day. And who knows, maybe one day our paths will intertwine in a way that inspires a masterpiece. Claire's heart skipped a beat at the unintentional implication. The thought of intertwining paths, of connections made over vibrant paint and shared passions, sent a rush of warmth through her. As they stood there, surrounded by art and the promise of something new, she couldn't help but wonder what the future might hold for a curator and a mysterious billionaire, who both found themselves wandering through the same gallery on an ordinary Wednesday afternoon. Little did she know, this was only the beginning of an unexpected journey, one that would challenge her heart and reshape her destiny. The soft hum of conversations and the rustle of footsteps faded into the background as Claire and Lucas continued their exploration through the gallery. Each painting they passed seemed to weave a deeper thread of connection between them, the vibrant colors and dramatic strokes echoing the rising tension in the air. As they moved to a more intimate corner of the gallery, Claire paused before a smaller canvas, a portrait that captured a woman lost in thought, the light dancing over her features in a way that made her seem almost ethereal. "This one always strikes me," Claire said, her finger tracing the outline of the woman's face in the air. "It's as if the artist captured a fleeting moment of vulnerability, a snapshot of what it feels like to be caught between the past and the future." Lucas stepped closer, his gaze fixed on the painting, then back to Claire, the intensity of his eyes making her heart race. "It's beautiful. There's a depth to her expression that feels almost tangible. You can sense her yearning, her story." He paused, leaning closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "What about you, Claire? Do you ever feel like this woman, caught between where you've been and where you're going?" The directness of his question took her by surprise, and she turned her gaze back to the painting, searching for words. "I think we all do at some point," she admitted, her brow furrowing as she thought about her own life. "As a curator, I'm often drawn to stories, to the emotions captured in art. But sometimes I feel like I'm stuck in a role, like I'm curating my life instead of living it." Lucas nodded, a knowing look in his eyes. "I understand that feeling. Being the one orchestrating everything can sometimes feel isolating, like you're watching from the outside rather than participating in your own narrative." Claire met his gaze, a shiver running down her spine at the intensity of his words. It was as if he could see right through her, peeling back layers she had kept hidden even from herself. "You make it sound so profound. I guess I've spent so much time thinking about others, stories that I've neglected my own." "Then let's change that," he said, a playful smile softening his expression. "Let's start writing your story." "Is that a dare?" Claire asked, her pulse quickening at the prospect of embracing a new chapter in her life. "Perhaps," he said, his lips curved in a way that made her melt a little inside. "But if we're going to do this, we should make it memorable. How about we take a detour from the gallery and explore the city?" The suggestion hung in the air, both thrilling and terrifying. Claire had come to the gallery seeking inspiration, not a spontaneous adventure with a man she just met. Yet, looking into Lucas's eyes, she saw a shared yearning for something more than the confines of their current lives. "Okay," she replied, the single word tumbling from her lips with surprising confidence. "Let's explore." "Fantastic," he said, his whole demeanor lighting up. "I know just the place." They left the gallery, stepping into the brisk autumn air. The sky overhead transitioned to a soft shade of orange, casting a warm glow on the cobblestone streets. Claire felt a rush of exhilaration as Lucas walked beside her. There was a sense of freedom in abandoning her carefully plotted day for this unexpected adventure. "Where are we headed?" she asked, glancing sideways at him, intrigued by the spark in his eyes. "There's a quaint cafe a few blocks from here that has the best coffee in the city," he replied, his tone filled with enthusiasm. "Trust me, it's a hidden gem." As they walked, the conversation flowed easily, their words punctuated by laughter and the occasional teasing remark. Claire found herself sharing stories about her early days as a curator, recounting the humorous missteps and unexpected triumphs that had shaped her career. Lucas listened intently, his eyes sparkling with genuine interest, and she felt an undeniable connection. "You've built quite the impressive career at such a young age," he remarked, after she finished detailing a particularly challenging exhibition. "Most people are still trying to find their footing in their 20s. "It hasn't always been easy," Claire admitted, her breath hitching slightly as she considered the sacrifices she'd made. "There's pressure to constantly prove myself, to curate the perfect exhibitions. Sometimes it feels like I'm on a treadmill, running but never getting anywhere. Lucas regarded her thoughtfully, a hint of empathy in his gaze. I can relate. The world of business can be ruthless. People assume that success comes without struggle, but it's the challenges that shape us. They're what drive us to be better. His words struck a chord, and Claire felt a rush of gratitude that he understood. It's reassuring to hear that. I sometimes feel like I'm living in a bubble where everyone is just focused on their own achievements. Maybe we can pop that bubble together, he suggested lightly, his tone shifting to something deeper. Life is too short to only focus on achievements. It's about the experiences we gather along the way, the moments that take our breath away. As they approached the cafe, Claire couldn't shake the feeling that Lucas was offering more than just coffee and conversation. There was an unnameable chemistry between them, an energy that crackled in the space where their shoulders brushed together. They stepped inside the cafe, the warmth enveloping them like a cozy blanket. The aroma of freshly ground coffee beans and baked pastries filled the air, drawing them toward the counter. "What's your poison?" Lucas asked, scanning the menu with an eager expression. "I'm a sucker for a good cappuccino," Claire replied, her eyes lighting up at the thought of frothy milk and rich espresso. "2 cappuccinos it is," he said, turning to place the order. As he spoke to the barista, Claire watched him, captivated by the way he carried himself. There was a certain charm about him that drew her in. It was as if he existed in his own orbit, effortlessly magnetic. When he returned with the drinks, he handed one to her, their fingers brushing once more. The contact sent a jolt through her, and she met his gaze, feeling her cheeks warm under his scrutiny. "Let's find a seat," he suggested, his voice a low murmur as he gestured toward a corner table by the window. They settled into the plush chairs, the distant hum of chatter around them fading into the background as they spoke. With each sip of coffee, their conversation deepened, touching on everything from childhood dreams to the complexities of love and loss. "I always thought I'd be a painter," Claire admitted, surprise flickering across her face as she revealed a part of herself she rarely shared. "But after a few failed attempts, I realized my true passion was helping others express their stories instead." Lucas leaned in, his gaze unwavering. "What do you think stopped you from pursuing painting?" She hesitated, the question hitting closer to home than she had anticipated. "Fear, I suppose. Fear of not being good enough, of not being able to capture what I feel. So I buried that part of myself and focused on the curation. Maybe it's time to unearth it," he suggested softly, his expression sincere. "You never know what you might discover if you let go of that fear." A silence fell between them, weighted with unspoken possibilities. Claire felt a rush of emotions, excitement, vulnerability, a flicker of hope that perhaps this conversation was leading her to a new path. "You really believe that?" "I do," he said, his voice steady. "You have a voice that deserves to be heard, just like the artists you curate. You have a story, Claire. Don't let it go untold." The earnestness in his words made her heart swell, and for a moment she was lost in the depths of his gaze. It was as if he was challenging her to embrace the unknown, to step out of the shadows of her self-doubt and into the spotlight of her own narrative. "Thank you, Lucas," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "for believing in me." "Always," he replied, his tone laced with sincerity. "And for what it's worth, you inspire me too." For the first time that evening, Claire felt a rush of warmth suffuse her cheeks, a mix of gratitude and an intoxicating thrill that came from sharing hidden truths with someone she barely knew. There was something about Lucas that felt oddly familiar, as if they had known each other far longer than a few fleeting hours. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden hue through the cafe windows, Claire knew this unexpected detour in her life was just the beginning. And as she shared more of her thoughts and dreams with Lucas, she felt a stirring deep within her, a realization that perhaps, in the company of this enigmatic billionaire, she was finally beginning to write her own story, one brushstroke at a time. The golden light of the setting sun filtered through the cafe's window, illuminating Claire's face and adding a soft glow to her features. She sat across from Luca's, her cappuccino cradled between her hands, the warmth seeping into her fingertips while a cascade of emotions unraveled within her. Each word they exchanged seemed to create a new thread in the tapestry of their growing connection, weaving together shared dreams and buried fears. "Tell me more about your past as a painter," Lucas encouraged, leaning in slightly, his interest genuine. "What drew you to the canvas in the first place?" Claire took a moment to gather her thoughts, the question stirring a mixture of nostalgia and vulnerability within her. "I remember sitting in front of my easel as a child, completely lost in the act of creating. I loved the way colors blended together, how each brushstroke felt like an extension of my heart. It was liberating," she said, a faraway look in her eyes. "But with every finished piece, I'd feel this overwhelming pressure to live up to some expectation, to be perfect. Eventually, I just stopped painting." Lucas's expression softened, an understanding twinkling in his gaze. "Art has a way of exposing our insecurities, doesn't it? It's like standing naked before the world, vulnerable yet raw. But abandoning it doesn't mean it's gone. It simply means it's waiting for you to rediscover it." Her heart fluttered at his words and she nodded slowly. "You're right. I think I've been afraid of what will happen if I try again, afraid of failing, of disappointing myself. What if, instead of seeing it as failure, you viewed it as a journey?" Lucas suggested, his voice low and soothing. "Every artist has their highs and lows. What matters is the bravery to continue creating, regardless of the outcome." Claire felt a warmth bloom within her, fueled by Lucas's encouragement. "It's refreshing to hear that. I've been so focused on the fear that I forgot the joy of creation." She paused, her gaze catching his. "You have an uncanny way of making me think deeper about myself." "Perhaps it's the art," he replied, a playful glint in his eye. "Or perhaps it's just you, Claire. You inspire thought and it's a rare quality." She felt her cheeks flush, an unfamiliar thrill coursing through her veins as she processed his compliment. "You're quite the charmer, Lucas," she teased, a smile playing at the corners of her lips. "Only when the company is worthy," he quipped back, his smirk infectious. "What else lies behind that talented exterior of yours?" The conversation flowed effortlessly, each revelation deepening their connection as they opened up about their dreams, setbacks, and aspirations. When Lucas spoke about his own journey in the business world, Claire listened intently, captivated by his passion and drive. He shared stories of ambitious projects that had tested his resolve, and the moments of doubt that had threatened to derail him. "Sometimes I wonder if I've lost sight of what really matters," he admitted, his expression turning contemplative. "In the pursuit of success, I've found myself prioritizing profits over passion. It can feel so isolating at times." Claire watched him, her heart swelling with empathy. "Is that why you enjoy art? Because it reminds you of the passion that once drove you?" "Exactly," Lucas replied, his eyes glinting with sincerity. "Art has a way of grounding me. It reminds me of the beauty in creation, how important it is to connect with both ourselves and others." Their conversation took on an intimate tone, like two souls exchanging pieces of themselves in a safe haven. Claire felt as if they were crafting a narrative together, one rich with understanding and shared vulnerability. She realized how refreshing it was to meet someone who saw beyond the surface, who could speak about art and life with such depth and insight. "Do you ever think about what you would do if you weren't in business?" she asked, curiosity bubbling to the surface. If there were no expectations. Lucas chuckled softly, a hint of mischief in his eyes. I'd probably be traveling the world, sketching landscapes. Maybe I'd even start a gallery of my own, a place where passion and creativity take precedence over profits. It would be a sanctuary for artists to feel free. The image he painted with his words was enchanting, and Claire felt a familiar yearning rise within her. That sounds incredible. It's easy to lose sight of our passions in the pursuit of success. I suppose we all crave freedom in some form. You're right, he said, his gaze steady. And I sense that freedom is something you deeply crave, Claire. You often speak in terms of longing, but I see a spirit ready to be unleashed. Her breath caught in her throat, the intensity of his statement hitting her like a bolt of lightning. You see me, she murmured, the weight of his observation settling between them. I do, Lucas replied, his tone earnest. And I want you to see yourself too. Life is too short to live in the shadows of fear. We need to claim our stories. As he spoke, the air between them shifted, thickening with unspoken possibilities. Claire felt drawn into his orbit, a magnetic pull that was both thrilling and terrifying. Beneath the surface of their conversation lay a tension that crackled like static electricity, an undercurrent of attraction that neither of them could ignore. Tell me, Lucas said, his voice dropping to a soft murmur, if you could create anything without fear of judgment, what would it be? Claire hesitated, the question igniting a spark of imagination within her. A series of paintings that capture the essence of human emotion. Each piece would be a journey of its own, exploring the complexities of love, loss, and everything in between. I want people to feel, to connect with the art on a deeper level. That sounds breathtaking, Lucas said, his eyes widening with admiration. And I can imagine the impact it would have on others. Why not start with one piece, just for yourself without expectations? The idea took root in her mind, and Claire felt a rush of excitement. You're right. I could create just for the sake of creating. It's been so long since I've allowed myself that freedom. Then let's make a pact, he said, his voice firm yet gentle. We'll both commit to pursuing our passions, no matter how daunting it may seem. Claire met his gaze, a sense of camaraderie blossoming between them. Deal. Their cappuccinos finished. The evening grew darker outside, the cafe slowly emptying around them. Claire felt a pang of reluctance at the thought of leaving this cozy bubble of connection they had created. Shall we take a walk? Lucas suggested, his eyes sparkling with mischief. There's a beautiful park nearby that's perfect for evening strolls. Lead the way, Claire agreed, a thrill racing through her at the prospect of continuing their adventure. As they stepped outside, the crisp autumn air embraced them, and the city came alive with twinkling lights. Lucas led her through the streets, their laughter mingling with the sounds of the night. They walked side by side, shoulders brushing occasionally, the sensation sending shivers down Claire's spine. When they arrived at the park, the trees stood tall, their branches adorned with golden leaves that rustled gently in the breeze. The soft glow of streetlights cast a warm hue over the path, creating an enchanting atmosphere that wrapped around them like a comforting embrace. Isn't it beautiful? Claire mused, taking a deep breath as she soaked in the serenity of the moment. It truly is, Lucas replied, glancing at her with a softness in his eyes. But not as beautiful as the company. Claire felt her heart race at his compliment, the air between them thick with unspoken words. They wandered along the paths, lost in conversation and stolen glances, the world around them fading away as they focused on each other. What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done? Lucas asked, his gaze fixed on her, curiosity swirling in his eyes. Claire laughed lightly, recalling a recent hiking trip that had tested her limits. I went hiking in the mountains last summer. It was grueling, but reaching the summit was exhilarating. The view was breathtaking, like standing on top of the world. "Sounds amazing," he said, his own eyes lighting up with enthusiasm. "I think we should plan an adventure together, something that pushes us both out of our comfort zones." The idea sent a thrill through her, and Claire felt a flicker of excitement at the prospect of sharing an adventure with him. "I'd love that, just as long as you promise not to let me fall off any cliffs." "I promise," he replied, laughter dancing in his voice. "But only if you promise to push me to be bolder." Their eyes locked, and for a moment the world around them ceased to exist. The connection between them deepened, the chemistry crackling in the air as they stood inches apart, the space between them charged with unspoken promises. Just then, a nearby street musician began to play a soft melody on the guitar, the notes floating through the air like whispers of magic. Claire's heart swelled at the unexpected beauty of the moment, and she felt a sudden urge to dance. "Shall we?" she asked, her heart racing as she extended her hand toward him. Lucas looked taken aback for a moment. Lucas blinked in surprise, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face as he processed Claire's invitation. The soft strumming of the guitar filled the air, the melody weaving through the evening breeze and inviting them into a world that felt both whimsical and intimate. He hesitated for only a heartbeat before a playful grin broke through, illuminating his features. "Are you serious?" he asked, laughter dancing in his voice. "You want to dance out here in the middle of the park?" "Why not?" Claire replied, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Life is too short to let opportunities pass by, especially the fun ones. Besides, how often do you get to dance under the stars with a stranger you just met?" "Tache," Lucas conceded, stepping closer, his heart racing at the prospect of sharing this spontaneous moment with her. "All right then, lead the way." With a flick of her wrist, Claire took his hand and pulled him toward the small, open space near the edge of the park, where the soft glow of the street lamp created a cozy spotlight. She couldn't remember the last time she had danced outside, and the thrill of the moment sent butterflies fluttering in her stomach. As the music picked up, Claire began to sway gently, her heart swelling with joy. "Just follow my lead," she called out over the music, her laughter bubbling forth. Lucas mirrored her movements, his expression a mix of amusement and focused determination. "You make it look so easy," he teased, his feet stumbling slightly as he tried to catch the rhythm. "Just relax," Claire laughed, her voice playful. "Let loose a little. It's not about the steps, it's about feeling the music." She twirled playfully, her hair catching the faint light and creating a halo around her. With a deep breath, Lucas let go of his inhibitions. He caught her eye, and in that shared moment, they both understood that this was not just about dancing. It was about embracing the unexpected and allowing their souls to connect, if only for a few fleeting minutes. As the song flowed into a gentle ballad, they moved closer, their bodies naturally gravitating toward one another. Claire could feel the warmth radiating from Lucas, and the sensation sent a tantalizing thrill through her. The space between them felt electric, charged with unspoken words and potential. "Do you dance often?" Lucas asked, his voice low as he caught her gaze, his expression turning serious for a brief moment. "Only when the mood strikes," Claire replied, her heart racing in response to his intensity. "Usually, it's in the privacy of my own home, twirling around with a paintbrush in hand while pretending I'm the next big artist." "I'm sure you'd make quite the impression," he replied, his eyes twinkling with a mix of admiration and flirtation. "But I think you're living in a world where you need to let that artist side shine. You have so much more to offer than just curating someone else's story." "I appreciate your faith in me," Claire said, her cheeks warming with the compliment. She felt vulnerable, exposed in a way that was both thrilling and terrifying. "But what about you, Lucas? You've got an entire empire to run." Don't you ever feel trapped in that world? He paused, the light-hearted banter replaced by a deep introspection. All the time, the pressure can be suffocating. Each decision I make feels like a weight on my shoulders, and sometimes I wonder if I'm chasing success at the cost of happiness. It's a balancing act. Claire nodded, understanding the burden he carried. It must be exhausting, she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. But you seem to navigate it with such ease. Lucas chuckled, the lightness returning to his tone. It's all smoke and mirrors, I assure you. But moments like this, he gestured around them, taking in the park, the music, and most importantly, Claire, remind me to step back and breathe, to find joy in the simplest things, like dancing under the stars. Her heart fluttered at his words, and for a heartbeat, the world around them faded into a beautiful blur. It was just the two of them, lost in this shared moment, their connection deepening with each passing minute. Thank you for being my partner in this little adventure, Claire said, her voice sincere. I needed this more than I realized. I should be thanking you, Lucas replied, his gaze locking onto hers with a sincerity that sent shivers down her spine. You've reminded me of what it feels like to truly live. As they swayed together, the gentle melody wrapping around them like a warm embrace, Claire felt a sudden surge of courage. Maybe we should make this a regular thing, she suggested, her heart pounding with excitement. You know, dancing under the stars. Lucas raised an eyebrow, a playful smile tugging at his lips. Are you asking me out on a date, Claire? Perhaps, she said, mirroring his playful tone while her heart raced at the implication. What do you think? Wouldn't it be nice to have a partner in crime for spontaneous adventures? His smile widened and he took a step closer, closing the gap. I think it sounds absolutely delightful, but let's add a little more to the mix. How about art galleries, coffee dates, and maybe even a hike or two? Deal. Claire grinned, her pulse quickening at the thought of sharing more moments like this with him. But you have to promise to bring your artistic side along. I want to see the world through your lens too. Consider it a guarantee, he said, a twinkle in his eyes. I'll show you the side of me that doesn't appear in boardrooms or business meetings. Good, because I'm not interested in the corporate version of Lucas, Claire replied, her tone teasing. I want the artist, the dreamer, the man who sees the beauty in life's imperfections. As the last notes of the ballad faded into the air, they lingered in their embrace, the moment hanging between them like a fragile bubble. Suddenly self-conscious, Claire took a step back, her cheeks flushed. Wow, that was unexpected. Lucas chuckled softly, the warmth in his gaze making her heart skip a beat. Unexpected is the best kind of adventure, don't you think? I suppose you're right, she admitted, trying to shake the nervous energy coursing through her veins. I've been so focused on my career and what's expected of me that I've forgotten how to embrace spontaneity. With a gentle smile, Lucas reached out and tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Let's change that together, Claire. Life's too short to be anything but free. As they began walking again, side by side, Claire felt a sense of excitement bloom within her. She had always been cautious, carefully curating her life and keeping her heart protected. But with Lucas, everything felt different. There was a magnetic pull between them, an undeniable chemistry that made her want to throw caution to the wind. Where to next? Lucas asked as they strolled through the park, the crunch of leaves beneath their feet breaking the tranquil silence. How about we check out that art installation I mentioned earlier? Claire suggested, her enthusiasm bubbling over. The one with the interactive pieces. I think you'd love it. Lead the way, my curator, he said with a wink, the playful banter between them filling the air with warmth. They walked hand in hand, their fingers brushing against each other, and Claire could feel a sense of belonging growing between them. With every step, She felt herself shedding the doubts and fears that had weighed her down for so long. As they arrived at the installation, the vibrant colors and innovative designs captivated their attention, drawing them further into the experience. Together, they explored the pieces, engaging in lively discussions about the artists, intentions, and the emotions evoked by the works. "You know," Lucas said, as they stood in front of a particularly striking piece that depicted a stormy ocean, "I think this piece is a perfect metaphor for what we've been talking about. The chaos, the beauty, the turbulence of human experience." Claire nodded thoughtfully, her gaze fixed on the artwork. "Exactly. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of moments, there's beauty to be found, just like in our lives." As they continued to discuss the installation, Claire felt the barriers she had built around her heart begin to crumble. The connection between them deepened, each shared thought and laugh weaving them closer together. "So tell me," Lucas said as they stepped back from the installation, his eyes glinting with curiosity. "What's next for you, Claire, now that you've made a pact to embrace your creativity?" She paused, the question igniting a spark of introspection within her. "I think it's time for me to rediscover my passion for painting," she admitted. "To let go of the fear that's held me back for so long. I want to create not just for others, but for myself." "Then let's make a plan," Lucas said, his enthusiasm infectious. "How about we set aside time each week for you to paint? I can be your cheerleader or just someone to bounce ideas off of." "Really?" Claire asked, her heart swelling at the offer. "You do that for me?" "Of course," he replied, his